Hey folks, Phil the Bee-Man here. I'm out on a Sunday afternoon feeding my twin hives, and I had a couple questions in the comments of a previous video about how I feed these. So I'll walk you through it a little bit. First of all, I use just plain old pails. Any pail that has a lid that fits halfway tight is good enough. And then I will take my, what I call my shiv. If I'm ever in a prison fight, I'll be okay. And I poke some holes. You can see some of these are done already. I often will just routinely poke a hole in each pail as I go because they like to propolize up those holes once the pails are full, so to make sure it's got one fresh hole. And then looking at the twins themselves, remember these are 2 units, so there's a kerf down the middle with an entrance on each side. Let's look at that on the inside. So there's an excluder, the remnants of a patty, and right here you can see that blocking the queen excluder all the way along. There is the division board. So there's actually a nuc here and a nuc here. And there's 2 ways to do this. This one, this is a feeder board that came with this nuc. These came from an auction. Actually, they're at auction, and I didn't bid on them because my cousin wanted them, and then my cousin let me have them later anyway. So here they are, and this the beekeeper made this feeder board or inner cover with a raised center to meet that division board, so that when this is on, essentially those are 2 units that aren't united. And then put a pail on each, and you'll notice that the pails are offset so that you can get a larger pail on. So this is what this would look like. You can see, by the way, the syrup, I always visually check that a little bit bleeds out when you flip it over, and that would look like that with 2-gallon feeders on. The way I've traditionally done this is with a single shared blanket, and so again there's still the excluder on there. That one hasn't got into that patty too much yet, and this blanket's a little bit, could use a little bit of opening up, but it's amazing how small a hole they'll fight through to get to that syrup. And then a single feeder hole that services, you can see there's that division board. You want to be able to see bees on both sides there. And as long as you can, both sides of that hive can get to that hole, then a single pail on top will do just fine. And I'll do them all that way. This one's the exception just for illustrative purposes. This way is the way I typically have done it, and I'll feed a gallon. That's a gallon pail to start, and then I'll probably give them at least 2 or 3 more, either one large pail or a couple more small ones, because my hive count is up. I'm stretching my pails to the limit. So these smaller pails I typically use only for spring feeding, but they're being pressed into service this fall as well. So, you know, you go down each hole as we drop the pail on. I want to be able to see that divider board right in the middle there, and then bees on both sides have access to the pail. And then you can use your standard colony equipment even in the 2 nuc setup. Seems to work just fine for me. Oh, here's the hive that the star of a previous video where they crawled up that board. Looks like everything is resumed normal there. Here's I don't know where I inherited this feeder board from, but rather than drill one big hole, the person who made this drilled a bunch of small ones. Works just fine. Bees are in pretty good mood today. We have had some rain and everything's greened up. And I think there's even a little bit of a flow on. I did see some pollen coming in. Don't see any there. Oh, I see some here. I think these hives are probably disrupted by my truck. Let's go down the row a little bit. These ones are foraging normally. Not much. Oh, there's one took off with pollen on her. That's not very helpful. No, I did see some pollen earlier as I smoked these before I opened the lids. Oh, there, I saw one just now. This is a slightly different design. These are older units here. And I have the entrance blocked off, entrance there, and then an entrance in the back for the second side. There's the entrance there. And that worked great when I was using them. As you can see, all these hives are actually set up for being used with single, standalone hives. And I use my hand truck to move them around. And then when we palletized, I just screwed them right down to the pallet. And that's worked okay, but I do prefer, well, there was a bee with pollen on her there. I do prefer the entrances out in the front. You never forget to smoke them. And I think that these ones, I never should have made this with the entrances touching. I think that leads to queens getting lost between the two. The acceptance rate was always slightly lower with these rather than the entrances out front. And so I've moved away from those. I think this is the last 4 maybe in the whole operation. And if they ever all die out, then I'll probably replace it. But why fix what ain't broken, I guess. Okay, so that's feeding the twins. I got a truckload of pails to put on the hives. And so I better stop yapping and get to work. Have a great day, everyone.